Nobody actually read the story. I don't know, but what this is about, it's by penguinz0. We'll go in. I think this is about a man and a dog? I don't know. I think it was. We'll jump in. I'm curious.
This is far from a new phenomenon, but it's just extremely common where people will immediately pass judgment on something based purely on just what the headline says. If it's only 10 words, that's the only 10 words they need to see in order.
But that's pretty normal. Like, that is so common. That has been common for literal years by now. Like, it just makes sense. People just read the headlines or, like, the first few sentences and then give an opinion. That's nothing new.
For them to form their full opinion on it without knowing even a single iota of detail around it. And today, a buddy of mine sent me this. And before I read the headline, I thought that picture there was just Mick.
Pet owner forced driver who killed his dog to dig dog's grave at gunpoint. You should shoot you. I should shoot you. No, for it. Huh. Interesting. I mean, from the headline, it seems like based. But there's probably more to it.
Loving playing a new character or something. Then I read the headline, pet owner forced driver who killed his dog to dig dog's grave at gunpoint. I should shoot you know for it. And my friend sent this to me saying that it is sad that this guy is about to go to the slammer for a long time for this, most likely. Basically just sympathizing and saying that, you know, pets are members of the family, so his reaction is, like, understandable. Hopefully he doesn't, you know, have his whole life ruined because of this negligent driver who hit and killed his dog. It's entirely, you know, the driver's fault. And I have dogs. I love dogs. I've grown up with pets my whole life. I do treat them like members.
Yeah, I too have dogs. I have plenty. We had plenty of dogs. I grew up with dogs. I kind of understand. Would I react the same way? Probably not, but there's a good chance I might throw hands for it, not gonna lie. For my dog, absolutely.
Of the family. So it's easy to see a headline like this and get, like, emotionally invested in it. And I saw a lot of, like, YouTubers and stuff commented on it saying, based, he's done nothing wrong. Free this man right now. This is super, like, rational and justifiable. So naturally, I did what I thought was normal as the next step.
You did some research and found out that the thing wasn't the way the headline made it out to be.
Reading the story. Because I thought with so many people commenting on it with such strong condemnation of the driver and support for Alberto Joshua Hernandez, this must be like a pretty clear, open and shut case of the driver being fully in the wrong here. This guy must have just been like a lunatic flying down the road. You know, he like ramps himself off of a parked tow truck, Dukes of Hazzard style, and just flies in like a fucking missile and blast this man's beloved pet on the sidewalk. But that's not the case at all. It's extremely clear after learning more about what actually happened here that...
Question. Did he hit the dog? And then the guy, the dog owner, like, put him at gunpoint but also robbed the main man completely? Maybe? I don't know. Could be. Like, what else could you do? What else could you do to a driver? Physically torture him? I don't know.
Everyone who's commented showing support for Alberto didn't bother to read beyond the headline, because this guy's a fucking psychopath.
Police documents say that he forced the victim to dig a grave.
Okay, incident took place September 8th when victim hit a dog while driving, okay? Suspect allegedly pulled up behind him, forced him to pick up the dog at gunpoint. That's crazy work. Victim allegedly forced to drive to ATM and withdraw money as compensation. Suspect charged with aggravated robbery, bond set at $300,000. Damn, bro, yeah, homies. Yeah, never mind. You're not, Alberto, you are not the good guy anymore. Like this? Sure, a bit radical, but understandable. Then this one, no, not so much anymore.
Withdraw money from an ATM to compensate him and reveal a home address. Now, according to an arrest document obtained
and doxing homie, crazy,
by our team here at KLTV and KTRE through an open records request, the victim went to police station for a voluntary interview.
Not gonna play too much from like the news coverage of it because, again, I recently just had a big hoopla for showing a news clip. So
yeah, the news clip. Remember, he was almost sued for a clip from Hurricane Milton, I think was the hurricane's name, back in 2014. That big one.
I'll just show this very brief section. But The driver had been driving home. He had hit the animal. He then pulled over, and he then like even tried to like fix his bumper. But after hitting the animal, he stopped. He pulled over, and pretty soon after, that's when Alberto arrived in his truck, which leads me to believe the dog was not leashed or anything. It doesn't seem like he was walking.
I do not understand. So, you walk on a street, right? You on a sidewalk, whatever, and you don't leash your dog. This is like you're kind of your own fault then when something happens. Like you're not innocent. I would never do that, by the way. Never ever. I generally don't let my dog run without a leash because first of all, she's a big girl, so something ever happens, you're not getting her off of you if something ever happens, right? It would never. But if something ever did, you're not stopping this dog. Second of all, there's like, we live in a time where there's so many crazy people just like dropping, what's the word? Dropping like poison for dogs everywhere that I'm like, nope, why the fuck would I do that?
Dog and it got away from him or anything. Like, that's not how it reads here. Seems like the dog was completely unattended, just roaming free on the road willy-nilly. Alberto arrived pretty soon after the hit, it seems, and pulls the gun on the driver and then orders him to carry the dog's body to his backyard. He takes his phone and everything, his keys, so that way there's no chance for him to like escape or wiggle his way out of it. He then digs that grave. Alberto goes inside, grabs another gun, and then forces the driver to take both of them to an ATM to withdraw money to compensate for the dog.
I mean, not 3 out of 1,000, but you should have just gone the regular way, which means suing the guy. Well, you did let the dog run without the leash, so there's a good chance you would not be able to sue him because, well, it's your own fault.
Alberto, after receiving the money from the driver after going to the ATM, then takes a picture of his driver's license and warns him that he might be hearing from him again for more compensation if he feels it wasn't enough.
Blackmail. That's something. That's something.
And then the driver goes to the police, and that brings us to this story. So, here's a nice little, like, write-up on it, the bullet points here from a Twitter user who broke it all down. To me, this sounds like a guy who found a convenient excuse to rob somebody. I don't see how anyone could make a sound argument that his robbing the guy and then threatening to rob him at a later date after getting all of his information.
Then you lose the moral high ground. Like, if you made the guy just, like, bury your dog, that'd be like, yeah, understandable, get fucked, like, that kind of thing. But once you robbed him, you kind of lost the moral high ground here. If anything, you should have just sued him, in my opinion.
Is in line with like a justifiable response to what seems to be purely an accident, where a dog that was not attended by Alberto or Alberto's mother, completely off leash on its own, running out in the road. Like, I don't see how anyone could say that Alberto's reaction to that is rational. He's either a dog shit pet owner who just lets his animals roam around freely, or the dog unfortunately got out from the backyard or the front door or something and then ran off unattended into the road. And that kind of thing fucking sucks, but it is an accident. It doesn't sound like the driver is doing anything like
yeah, the driver wasn't particularly doing something malicious, to be fair. Still understandable crash out, kinda. Still understandable crash out. I would probably not react like that. But yeah, I'd be like, I don't know. See, my dog cannot go, like, it's very safe. My dog cannot go outside, like outside of the garden, outside of the backyard. That doesn't happen.
Malicious or evil. It's not like the driver just drove off after hitting the dog, like he didn't have a care in the world. He just puts it pedal to the metal, like, yeah, celebrating. I just killed that dog. 2 thumbs up. Whoopee! Or anything like that. The driver did pull over. After hitting the animal, he pulled over. He got out. Apparently even tinkered with his bumper. And then I do think the timing is interesting, how Alberto just happens to pull up at the scene here pretty soon after the animal got hit. That's true. That's also kind of weird. I mean, it could have just happened right in front of the house, right? You never know, right? It could have just happened right in front of the apartment, house, whatever, fine. So odd to me. Now, another person that happened to arrive at the scene was the mother. According to the news report, the mom also arrived there and witnessed her son with the AR.
The two then drove back, and the affidavit goes on to say that the victim's mother had come to the scene and parked near the victim's vehicle. She saw Hernandez with his rifle, according.
Wait, so the mom of the driver... The mom of the driver pulled up. Yeah, okay.
To documents, police say that the video from the ATM shows the victim withdrawing the money and then handing it to a passenger who was holding a gun.
Something seems very fishy here to me. Now, it seems like they were still close to the residence here, considering that the driver was ordered to carry the dog back, so that leads me to believe he walked the dog's body to the house. So, if that's the case, why is Alberto just hanging out in the truck watching the dog run around freely? It'd be crazy timing, a crazy coinkydink if he just happened to pull up right after the dog got hit near the house. There's just something about the timing in all of this and the way that he handled it after.
So what you're saying is that, this was a setup. This might have been a setup. The dog was sacrificed.
To the fact where he literally robs the fucking guy at gunpoint and then threatens to come back at a later date to take more money, that just paints a very different picture than a dog owner who's just overcome with, like, grief and trauma after his dog got hit, that he now pulls a gun and asks the guy to dig a grave. It's very different when you get the whole scope of what actually happened here. And you know what? I'm just gonna let it rip. I'm going to be honest and say what I thought when I finished learning about all of this. It almost sounds like it was a setup. It almost sounds like this was by design here. That Alberto would let the dog run around freely here, staying close by, so that way if someone did hit the animal, it makes it very easy for them to kind of swoop in and immediately capitalize off of the person who's probably already shaken up about hitting a fucking dog, and then put a gun in their face and start demanding money, this and that.
Like I said, bro lost the high ground there. Bro became, I mean, he was a criminal before that, but yeah. I don't know, it's just, like, crazy. It's just, like, insane. Yeah, I saw that headline, too, and I was like, yeah, actually based. But, yeah, I'm one of those people that didn't read much further.
I think there is definitely that possibility. I'm gonna be honest. That's how it kind of read to me after I learned more about how this happened, after the headlines painted as this dog owner pulled a gun after this traumatic incident. It's definitely a little different once you hear more about it. But the crazy thing is, even the people that do get the full context, because I saw, like, even that comment there that broke it all down, people under that were like, he's definitely in the right, doing the clapping emoji. Ah, so he's innocent. Good. People just so willing to excuse kidnapping, robbery at gunpoint, and the threat of more robberies in the future, all because, at best, this was an accident where the dog got away and unfortunately ran out in the middle of the road that a driver couldn't stop in time and unfortunately hit. But again, there's no evidence to suggest the driver was doing anything malicious. There's no evidence that...
Obviously. See, I mean, it depends, right? People didn't read the story, so they just went off of what happened, right? Because they trust the headline. Makes sense.
He was impaired, not paying attention, or driving recklessly, anything like that, pulled over, everything. But at worst, I think this could be legitimately like a setup from Alberto, or he's just a dog shit pet owner who lets his animals roam around unleashed. That is also on the table too, because that's becoming very common where people don't leash their pets, and then it's everyone else's fault.
Which does not make sense to me, because why are you not leashing your dog? Why are you not doing that? Why are you not doing that? At this point, bro, it is so unsafe nowadays. Because of all the crazy shit that happens.
If something happens. I just find that perspective of people still okay with his response to this. You know, robbing him at gunpoint and then threatening to rob him more in the future after taking a picture of his driver's license so he got all of the personal information on the guy so he could go back at a later date and steal more. I find people that think that's okay and rational to just be scarily deluded. Just so disconnected from reality. I love dogs, and I would do anything for my pets, and if something happened to them, I would be beyond angry. But if something happened to them because of my own negligence, like if one...
Obviously, that's a different situation then. Obviously, that is a different situation.
One of my dogs somehow got out, and ran in the road and got hit, I would be more angry at myself than the driver in that case. Assuming, of course, the driver wasn't, you know, like impaired or doing something like reckless and wrong, you know? That is on me. And the literal last thing going through my noodle there is robbery. Like, how am I going to now rob this person? How am I going to get them to take me to an ATM so they can withdraw money for me? And then
obviously, that is wrong. We can all agree that's wrong. I mean, if he was driving recklessly, I could understand forcing him to bury the dog, right? Not gonna lie, understandable crash out. But we don't have the the article didn't state if anything, like if it was the driver recklessly driving, whatever. I don't know, we don't have that.
And also I need to make sure I get photos of their driver's license so I have all this information so I can come back at a later date and get more. Like, that would not be something that would be going through my head in the grieving process. And I don't think it would for most sane people. But we continue to get more insane every single day. So there are hundreds of posts just like this one with open support of Alberto Hernandez, even knowing full well about the robbery at gunpoint and the threat of more robberies in the future. Like, this one says it's a warning to the lawless and careless when society fails to protect innocent lives, dog, children, and decent citizens. Americans will take matters into their own hands. You fucking goober, it's his fault. That dog was roaming around completely alone, unattended, no leash, no nothing, in the middle of the fucking road. He's the one that failed to protect the innocent life of the dog. That's his failure. The driver unfortunately hit the dog, but did pull over.
Yeah, I feel like if you pull over, like, if you actually pulled over, then, well, you could still do both, right? You could still drive recklessly and pull over, right? That could still work. But yeah, it wasn't obvious. It was an obvious accident.
Over, didn't just, like, leave the scene or anything. It wasn't lawless or careless or anything. He fucking pulled over and then stayed around and even, like, worked on his car there. Like, what are you even yapping about? There are so many people like this, though, where because this man's dog was hit and killed, it now entitles him, in their eyes, to murder that guy and then take all of his money. Like, he is totally justified in their eyes to do that, even though it is his fault that that happened in the first place. If his dog was leashed, that wouldn't have happened. If he did a better job of monitoring his dog, if it, like, got out, it wouldn't have happened. And you know what that's called when that happens?
That again, the guy is 100% at fault. It just makes sense, right? It just makes sense that it is the guy's fault. Yeah, at first when I heard that headline, I was also like, based. But I didn't care further enough, and I think most people just don't care further enough. So interesting that I did get to see that.
A fucking accident. It's crazy, the state that we've devolved to, where people just look at things so black and white. This guy's dog was hit, now he can kill. In fact, he should kill. And if he does, there's nothing wrong with that, I support it. That blows my fucking mind. Especially because I already know beyond a shadow of a doubt, these same people will turn around and insult others for not leashing their dogs, like at the park, like if they have a pit bull or something, which is extremely irresponsible. Like, not leashing your dog around others, I think that is completely inexcusable, and I imagine all of these people right now would agree. Yet in this case, they just plugged their ears to that piece of information about the dog being completely alone here to just roam the streets by itself. It doesn't matter to them now, because now the dog is unfortunately dead, so that means the dog owner must be totally within his right to rob at gunpoint and potentially rob further at later dates the person.
I think he's complaining a little too much about the robbery because, well, most people didn't see that. I think most people that responded to this did not click on the link, me included. I think most people, I didn't respond to it, but I think most people that saw this did not click on the link. They would be like, based, and moved on.
That was driving the car, whom I don't believe was fully responsible for this, because it seems like a fucking accident where the dog, being, again, alone, not under the care of the pet owner or anything, ran in the middle of the road and unfortunately got hit. And the driver, again, did pull over and everything and was still there at the scene. So I really feel like everyone that's, like, saying based and super supportive of Alberto here either didn't read the story or are just so
didn't read. I think most of them didn't read, me included. Me included. I'm not excluding myself here. Me included. I did not read that.
Fucking far gone mentally that it's scary. Anyway, I just had to yap about this a bit because I was stunned. Like, I can't even really be mad at my friend who sent it because it is so normal to not read beyond the headlines, but Jiminy Christmas, it's out of control because you just had to read like maybe 4 paragraphs to get like more information about exactly what happened and why he was arrested. Anyway, that's
Yeah, that's the story. Interesting. Well, good that I watched this, because when I went past the story and I looked at it at Twitter, I thought, like, good, get fucked. Well, that's not the case. The guy was insane. Yeah, you lose the mole. Like, let's give her the benefit of the doubt, right? And say that the driver was in fact driving recklessly, right? Stopping and driving recklessly, they don't exclude each other, right? They don't exclude each other. They don't cancel each other out. However, robbing the guy was wrong. Even holding him at gunpoint would technically be wrong, right? Let's not deny that. Though, understandable crash out. It depends. I don't know. I feel like, again, the guy lost the moral high ground the moment he tried to rob him. That's it. That's it. That's pretty much it. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all.